All right, Mr. Frank Pimentel, we're going to get started. We're going to dive right in. We're going to keep this video like 25, 30 minutes. What do you say?
Sounds good. Yeah, babe.
All right. So I think you came into the vault in 2017 or 18.
17. I was one of the first students I think you probably had. Like I was part of that first group.
Yeah. It was probably toward, let's see, it
It
was
was like
April.
March 2017, I believe.
Oh, man. You were like the first.
No, I was in the first, like your
Yeah. Yeah.
first
When we first launched
thing.
it.
Yeah. I was part of the first group.
Dude, that's
I was
crazy.
in the group that you launched it in.
That's right. So then you fast forward, here are 6 years later, you have $1 million agency working in the tourism niche. So we'll get to that in just a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah. It's been pretty crazy.
Pretty crazy, but let's back up because you started it as an electrician. So
Right,
dive into
right.
that a little bit because I do remember doing a case study with you, by the way, when you were still electrician.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I was still working. I was still working in the field as electrician, licensed electrician, went through the whole apprenticeship thing. Like I did all that. So I mean, I would probably say I'm more of your traditional like success story, right? As far as like it takes time. I've been doing this
Right.
for years before I finally saw the big moments where a lot of people were always like doing their success stories 6 months in, $1 million like that. That wasn't my story.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to connect with most people that are watching this, right? It's like, I was in the grind. I was trying to figure it out for many years. So 2017, I want to say I had been I was electrician for 7 years. So I was in my second year as a journeyman electrician. So I went through the whole apprenticeship already. I bought LMV, I bought the program, and it was just like kind of what I was looking for in the moment because I was kind of starting to get into SEO marketing online,
Yeah.
and this
Well,
is not
it's
what I
pretty
want to do.
technical. Yeah. I mean,
It's just the time. It's a time issue. It's not even I understand
it's
technical
time.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was the amount of time it took me to see success, and then you had to try to convince business owners to see that same time frame, and they have no idea what's going on. Trust me, I have business partners, and I have to convince them every day that SEO works.
Yeah.
And it's working for us.
Right.
So
Long-term play, it does. I mean,
A
long-term.
hundred, oh, no, no, 100%. Like I'm not nothing against it, but especially starting off, I think SEO is a hard play for new people
Right.
because they don't have the belief yet, they don't have the understanding, they don't have the results to show. Like, hey, listen, you give me 6 months to a year, I will show you results,
Yeah.
right? Like it's hard, so it's hard. It's a hard sale.
It's a hard sell. Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys came in with the hey, listen, let's run ads first, and then we get into SEO.
Yep.
I was like, there we go, there it is,
Right. It
right?
was
So
a
I
it was a
started
leads
learning.
now versus leads later. That was the
Of course,
whole.
that was your guys' first shtick. That's the first
Yeah.
thing you guys.
Yeah.
That was how you hit everything, right? So I jumped in the program. I learned Google Ads. Your guys' campaign that you teach for plumbing was built on my plumber that I landed right away. So I came to
Mhm.
Jason. I was like, hey, Jason, I have a guy that's willing to spend a lot of money. I just don't know what I'm doing. He's like,
Right.
okay, cool. I was like, you can build the funnels, you can keep everything for LMV. I just need help. He was like, cool. And then
Yeah.
we built it, and it worked out. And I was like, oh man. So my first taste of advertising, paid advertising, was Google Ads. And I've always had a love for the quickness and the how quickly people move are in the how you can hit people where they're at in the sales funnel with Google Ads because they're searching, they have high intent, right?
High
So,
intent. Yeah.
yeah, high intent. So a year, no, was it a full year? About a year, yeah, yeah. Because in 2018 is when I joined you guys
Yeah. Yeah.
as part of your team. So in January 2018 is when I joined your team. So it was interesting because I'm a very technical person. Like that's one of the like my things. I figure out technical things very quickly. So I was helping out in the group a lot of Google Ads questions, a lot of technical questions. I helped support the group because I understood it right away. So I was like very helpful in the group, very engaged, and I think that led to like, hey, when you guys need help, like hey, this guy's always around. Maybe he can help us to kind of just manage things. So that's kind of how I started off with you guys, and I
It
was with
actually was. It was. If you remember, it was the event where you're just like,
right
"Hey, if you
before
need
the
help."
event.
Yeah.
Right
Right
before
before the
the
event.
event, yeah, because I started working with you guys in January, and I think the event was in March.
Yeah. And then we're like, "Oh, fine.
So
This is perfect. We need help."
yeah, exactly right. So, I started off mainly supporting the group, working with Jason on how just helping people be successful with running
Ads.
ads and stuff. Because
Mhm.
that's always the hardest part is when you've never done this stuff. It can be very difficult. I was still running my agency, still had clients, still doing all that stuff, right?
Now,
So it kind of worked out.
were you still as an electrician up until what point? Because I remember you were
January
doing.
2018.
Oh,
January
that's when you.
2018, I quit.
Oh,
I
wow.
quit.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, most people don't realize like I took a pay cut. I was like, listen, here's my
Yeah.
chance to get out of what I'm doing. Like I talked to my wife and I was like, listen, like this is gonna be extremely risky, but we don't have kids, so you gotta trust me. Let's do
Yeah.
this. You know, like
Hmm.
this is gonna lead to what we want, the kind of life we want. Otherwise, I'm gonna be working like like I was an apprentice making six figures as an electrician in California, which is great money, but I had to work 60 hours a week.
Oh
I
yeah.
had to work 6, 7 days a
Yeah.
week to make that kind of money. If I wanted to make 150 grand as an electrician, as a journeyman, I was gonna be working overtime like crazy. And for me, and I was like, and then the only way that I can make more money is if I put in more physical hours. And I was like, this is not going to work. So
Yeah.
as soon as this opportunity came to work with you guys, like, hey, I have, like, I'm gonna take a pay cut, but I also have my own clients already. It's like I think I can manage it, right? So we kind of took the risk, and I went for it. So we started off helping there, right? And then because I remember I talked to my wife about this kind of often is like I was like, yeah, when James and I first like when I started working with these guys, I didn't talk to James a lot. He wasn't really because Jason hired me to help him. So
Ah.
James was like so I was like he didn't really give me much to do, right? So because I think
Right.
he was so used to everything himself that he didn't really like think about like, hey, how can I, utilize him? But over time I started kind of getting more involved in the operation sides of things, what what James does and kind of like the bigger picture of what they're doing. And then I think you guys started to understand like, oh, okay, like this guy understands the technical side of things. So you come to me, this is what we want to do. And it'd be my job to
Yes.
go, like, okay, what do we need to make this happen? Right. So I got really into the operations inside. I started to see like, wow, like this is how you run ads. This is how you, at a large scale, this is how you manage it all. This is how you put software together. So I learned a lot when it came to that. Right. So if we fast forward to 2021,
Yeah.
kind of doing that stuff, going to conferences, learning a lot of stuff I learned,
Yeah.
hands-on experience all on your guys' credit cards. So it was amazing, so,
Right.
so, and I got paid, right? Um, so fast forward to 2021, maybe about March, someone from the group from LME was like, hey, we have this idea. I have a business partner out here. We need help running ads. If you want to, test some things out and try it out, I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. I know how to run ads, and I'm pretty proficient at it at this point. I was like, yeah, let's test it out. So we started, we're in the tourist industry out here, and we start testing some ads out. This is literally like as the world is coming out of right, all the lockdowns and stuff like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I'm supposed to
Not
say
a
that,
good
right?
time.
Yeah, very, very crazy time. And
Mm.
then I have someone tell me we should get into tourism, right? It's like,
Right.
what?
Wait.
you know,
Sure.
yeah. Right. So we like 2021, like, yeah, let's start testing things out. Like, how lucrative can it be right now? World's kind of shut down still, right? But the nice thing is there wasn't a lot of competition in the market at that point. So we started
Hmm.
running ads, seeing success. We were profitable right away. I was like, oh wow, okay, there's something here. And I was like, and then that's when I had like the light bulb moment. I was like, oh, this is like local ecom.
Yeah.
I was like, it's a mixture of local advertising but ecom. And I was
Yep.
like, huh, you mean I don't have to outsource from China? I don't have to get
Right.
stuff,
Drop
ship
ship.
stuff in from China,
Yeah.
drop ship from China. I'm like, I've always wanted to get into ecom. I was like, oh, awesome. Let's see if we can scale this up, right?
Yep.
Let's see what else is going to work. So we started testing like crazy. I mean, spending any money that came in the door was right out the door in ads. Like just as soon as
Yeah.
it came in, it was gone. Like because we knew, I knew because I've seen what it took to scale up, what it took to test, all these things in LMV. I was like, oh wow, like I can really like take that same model and just pour all the money back in because I was still working for you guys at the time, so I was doing this on the side, and I was able to like take all that. We didn't need the money, and we started scaling up, and we started learning a lot of things, especially when it comes down to like what it takes to run an e-commerce type business or anything that's like high, like where especially a very competitive niche where like if you don't know everything that's going on in your business from a tracking side, you're
Yep.
losing money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
that's kind of
that's the biggest. I mean, so like, so you then it was what, middle of 2021 where you just went all in on this, right? Was it 21 or
yeah,
22? I don't remember.
no, it was 21. So we officially started the company in April 21, like
Yeah.
document like LLCs and everything, right?
Hmm.
And I went all in on. I started, and then I think that's the time like you guys were kind of reorganizing, so it
Yeah.
was like a perfect time for me to say like, all right, guys, like you're like, hey, we're gonna reorganize. Like, all right, so I think I stayed on doing little things for you guys, but I kind of like focused all
Hmm.
my energy into this, and
Yeah.
we started going pretty hard. We did. I wish I had the numbers in front of me right now.
Well, let me give you a little segue because so just for anybody that's watching, essentially what you're doing is selling tourism to people who are coming into Hawaii.
Hmm.
That's it. You're running
Yes.
Google ads, you're running Facebook ads, and you're doing massive volume. I mean, if you fast forward to now, right? Massive volume. And
Right. Right.
so for anybody that's like, running just a regular pay-per-click ad to a plumber in a local area, right? For those people, it's a lot easier. It's intent-based searches. But even on your side, you have intent-based searches.
Well,
And
that's the thing. When we first started, it was very much like local
right,
advertising. That's the reason why I draw that parallel so strong, because when we first started, we were only advertising here on the islands, right? We were only running ads in Hawaii,
right,
specifically in Oahu, right? So it was much like if I had a plumber, I had and so we were competing with giants,
yeah,
Viator, Expedia, Get Your Guide, like these massive billion-dollar companies. We're coming in here and beating them. Like, why? Because it's local. We had
right,
a local brand. We were dedicated to this area. So everything I had learned about local advertising almost applied
directly.
like directly to what we were doing. And especially at the beginning, right? Not so much anymore because we're very much running ads nationwide. Actually, internationally, we run ads, right? So it's like that's kind of like evolved a little bit from what
Mhm.
local is, but still the same concepts apply. Like it's always easier to compete at a niche down level
Absolutely.
at a local level, because you think Viator or these other big companies are going to compete with me if they're like, hey, we sell Hawaii. We're like, and they say, no, we are Hawaii. Like that's all we do.
Right. Branded,
Right?
yeah.
Who are you going to trust? Who are you going to trust?
Right.
Viator, you're going to trust the guys that have, we have teams on the ground. We're here. We answer the phones. Like there's a lot of things that we try to include. Like we try to merge this whole like online travel agency that you see that we're all used to dealing with, especially in the States, and then a old school like local agency where it's like, hey, I
Right.
can call someone, I can talk to someone, and that's kind of what we try to we try to find this balance between. But you know, initially, like everything I learned in LMV, I mean, I never learned to run ecom ads. I only ever learned to run local lead gen. So what
Yeah.
did we start with? We started generating leads. That's like what we started
That's
with,
it.
right? We
Hmm.
started generating leads. Like, hey, let's get a lead. Let's do a Facebook format.
Yep.
Let's get the lead. Let's follow up through text message. Let's follow up through email. Let's follow up through phone calls.
Right.
Get them on the phone. Close them.
Yep.
That's what we did
101.
exclusively. That's what we did exclusively for like the first like 3 to 6 months,
Yeah.
right? Then we were like, this is gonna be hard to scale, because there's a
Right.
lot of things to sell. We don't want to be on the phones with everybody. So
But
then
then,
we
but
started
then hold
test.
on. But then like in the middle of this, then because we experienced it, I know you experienced it, the iOS update and all
Yeah,
these
yeah,
were
exactly.
like I remember running ads
So
on
that happened
Facebook
probably before we
like
started, right? Right before.
right before you
Yeah,
started. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So luckily we were so local, it didn't matter.
Right.
Like it was
That's what I
so like
mean.
we're
Yeah.
running. Yeah, yeah, it was so even now, if you're running local, the updates are not really. And there's a lot of things you can do now to improve the situation. There's a lot of
Hmm.
tools out there, a lot of things you can do that I've learned, through trial and error, how to improve the quality of your analytics and your reporting
Analytics.
back to Facebook, back to Google, back to all these things, right? Which you and I both know, if what you're not tracking, you're probably losing money on.
Oh, I know.
And we talk about this all the time, and I think that's something I learned from you the most, like constantly going back to our balance sheet. Like, what are we not like? Track your balance sheet, track all these things, your P&Ls, because you're probably wasting even a little bit of money. That thing keeps growing and growing because you get lazy, you get comfortable, and you start to get fat, right? And that's always like trying to keep
Exactly.
things as lean as possible, right? But whatever you're not tracking is probably losing you money at some point, right? Um, so yeah, these updates happen. I'm like, well, luckily we didn't need Facebook recently got rid of it. I'm really bummed about. We used to be able to target people that were not from here but were visiting here.
Yeah. I remember you telling me that.
So that was how I got around any. I didn't need an audience. I just didn't know you weren't from
That
here.
was easy. Yeah. Yeah.
It was super easy. It's not that case anymore, but we all know, like, just like I said, what you're going to learn and what you can learn in LMV is that there's ways to target your audience, even if you have to target a broad audience. It's very easy and simple. There's simple strategies you can use in order to target the audience just with your ad copy or your imagery or what you're saying there, right? Which is, again, everything I learned, the basic
Yeah.
ad structure. Nothing's really changed. I still write ads like Jason does,
Right.
like I still do, and it's so funny because that's how I was taught, and that's how it's always worked.
Yeah. Well, the skill, like
So
we even tonight on our live before I jumped off, we were talking about like the economy. We were talking about all this stuff, and
mhm.
we were basically saying like everybody who actually is going to go through the training and learn this and actually get a skill, if the economy ever tanks, you're gonna wish you learned a skill that you can get paid for. What if you lose your job? Like, what if you need a side hustle income? And it's like you were an electrician, you were running an agency on the side. Then we hired you as a COO. Then on the side, you partnered and started this travel agency business, and you were doing that on the side until you couldn't do both anymore. And then you're doing that full time. And before I do have one more thing to say, but so your first year, how much money did you do?
So, and by the way, and now I still have another side hustle too. Now that I'm doing this full time, I have something else I'm always working on, right? Just because just the way it always works, right? I mean, you start to learn things, you start to realize like, oh, I can use this somewhere else. Yeah, like there's something else I can add on to what I'm doing because I'm already doing it. So let me disseminate this information and actually figure out how I can, help people or other businesses that don't have this, right? So the first year, so 2021 till the end of the year when we started, right? We did about 600 grand in sales.
First year.
So the first year of 21 to 20, like the full year of 21, we did about $4.5 million.
That was 22 or 21?
So sorry, 22. All of you, 22. 22. We did about a little over $4.5 million in sales.
Yeah. So like imagine this, thinking about this, because I just want to put this in perspective. There are people who start businesses, right? First of all, never get to $500,000 in even gross income, right? So because of the internet, the speed, the skill that was already learned, right? This is 4 to 5 years in the making, if you think about
100%. It. And that's a big, like I said, my success story, I'm never going to tell you it happened overnight.
Of course not.
Listen, and even before you guys, I've been building websites to some extent since I was in high school. So like I've been learning this and it's slowly, right? But like I've been learning this over the last 10, 15 years. And it just was this last piece of like, oh, you can like, and I think this is where we have a lot of discussion with business owners. Like, yeah, sure, you can have a website, you can have a Facebook page, you have Instagram. None of that matters if no one sees it.
Yep.
None of it. You can have the best products in the world and none of it matters if no one sees it and has no way, and you have no way of amplifying the results people get. That's all you're looking for sometimes. Because even like if you're not great at ads, if you can amplify the results that people get in the sense of like not like people become aware of it, you can do fine if you have a great product. But even if you don't have that basic skill of putting the word out, it's simple. You don't have to be a direct response marketer. You don't have to be this. You just have to be good at getting the word out.
Yes.
And how do you do that in today's world, right? And quickly and at some kind of scale.
Right. And it's exactly right. But so you go 600,000 first year business, 4.2 million.
About a little over 4.5. I just looked at it yesterday. Like a little over 4.5.
That was last year.
Million.
What are you
on?
That
was this year. We're on about we've scaled some of our stuff back on advertising just because we're trying to tweak it and increase profitability. But we're on pace right now to do we're like 15%, 16% over year right now. So like we're increasing. Like, listen, I would like to get that to 20% at least, which would be a great 20% increase on $4.5 million with reduced ad. See, here's the big thing is like people like, you're not growing at a high rate. Well, yeah, but I'm reducing my cost and maintaining a growth, which is like, it's almost double. It's actually a bigger multiplicative factor than just increasing sales overall, right? It's like, okay, I'm bringing down cost and still keeping up growth. Like, oh, we're in a great place. We actually have some really cool things in the work right now. Like, I think one thing you realize too in your business is like your skill set, and you have to learn to be okay with like, I only have so many skills that can take me to the point I'm at right now. Can I get us past this? I don't know. So we're looking at hiring professionals to help us come in and kind of reevaluate some things on our landing pages and our booking pages. And like they're coming, we're going to put some serious money out to get some real help to increase our conversions. Yeah, mainly our conversions, right? Like, can we convert at a higher rate? I promise you we can because I built the landing pages, or my partners, I built the landing pages. We're not that great at this stuff, we're not amazing. We did best practices, but is it? I mean, that's not. I promise you, because I know right now we convert on our website about 3% of the traffic, which by all measurements is good in an e-commerce world.
Right,
is decent. It's not great. It's decent. Most people will be happy with that. But the problem we're finding is that because we're niched down to one place, it's hard for us to monetize people in the future because how often are they coming back to Hawaii, right? And I'm sure, I'm not saying that's not possible, but where we're at right now, it's hard we don't have the products to offer, and that's something we have to keep working on, is like getting ways to keep monetizing our email list. We have an email list of over 80,000 people, so it's like,
Yeah.
we have a very, like, how do I monetize this over and over again? But point being is like, but if we can increase our conversion rate from 3, 4, 5, 6%, if I can get double my conversion rate to
And you keep the
6%,
numbers the same. Yeah, of course.
we're talking about doubling revenue over, just because we paid someone some money to actually go through and teach us how to and restructure our landing pages, our booking pages, right? And I think that's our next big move when it comes to that, to like double our revenue,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. And so, and by the way, that's always the transition, right? Like you hire somebody that can get you here, and then at some point, there's a stepping ladder of mentors.
Sure.
We were able to get you to, $1 million, $1.5 million, and then somebody else was able to get you to 4.5 or whatever it was.
Well, I mean, really, you guys got us to 4.5.
Okay, 4.5.
I mean, really,
but you got to go to 9.
really, that's yeah. Well, we could get there, but I'm trying to speed it up.
Yeah,
I
of course.
guess I think I don't want to spend the next 3 years trying to get there. I want to do it tomorrow. Like, I'm impatient like everybody else, and we have the resources to make it happen in a short amount of time. So it's like, we should do it, right? And that's because this is a conversation I have with my business partners. We're like, well, could we do it? I was like, we probably could. It's going to take us some time though.
Yeah,
and that's it's going to be a lot. And I'm not afraid of the work. It's more of the time I'm worried about.
Yeah,
because every day I don't do it, I'm losing a potential customer, right? Like, if they can increase my conversion by 25%, and I don't do this now, I'm losing almost $300,000 a year.
Right, exactly.
In commission, not sales, in commission.
Yeah.
In actual direct revenue to me,
Yeah.
So think about that. If I don't do this now, every day we're losing the possibility of 25% increase. That's all I need.
Yeah.
Which is not outrageous in the conversion rate optimization world. That's not outrageous, right? So it's like, you start to understand business, like, okay, like, I'm actually, okay, you're asking me for 6 figures. I'm like, whew. But if I don't do this, I'm losing multiple 6 figures. So it's like,
right.
what should I do here? Like, it's really, I'd be dumb not to pay whatever they ask me.
Well, that's good. So you're taking that thing. Now, it just dawned on me when you said you're working on another side hustle. I know that you're a very big proponent in, you used to do this for us, tracking, running, like, hey, pull this data, Excel sheets, like, you're just a deep diver into data. And I know you're going to get into, or you have almost created a system and way of getting around the iOS update, this new Chrome thing. That, like, explain a little bit more about that, because tracking, like, we pay what do we pay HighRoast $2,000 a month just so we have some sort of tracking ability,
right? And here's the thing, right? You guys can afford it, but what about these people that can't, that need something that's good enough but not HighRoast, right? And that's something I've been working on, is actually like how to set up using what the tools that are out there. That's what you got to love, like Google. Everybody's like, talks like these. Now, Google produces some really good products when it comes to this, right? They have a suite of products that are free, but what's great about them is they're scalable. So you can use them in the free. If you're a local shop, you want to help your customers, you want to show them the results, or if you're like enterprise level and you want to do some really big things with it, right? You can scale up with the same products. Google Tag Manager, GA4, which is new. You can start learning about Looker Studio to build reports, right? They all connect and they all communicate. Then you start getting into BigQuery, which is like a database, and where you can start storing all your data. So you have future data. You can have, you can start running report. There's all kinds of cool things you're doing. So like what I'm starting to do now is like, okay, there's a lot of local businesses that could use this data. They just don't have the proper, marketers don't know how to structure this, because it can get confusing.
I don't know how to do it.
I do this. Right. I do this. I spend every day in these things, right? It's not that it's not easy to figure out what you need, because I have to go find the solution. Okay, I want to do this. I want to find out, how do I pull a cookie and put it in my form? And like, now I got to go research. I don't know JavaScript.
YouTube videos later.
Yeah. I mean, we have a developer on staff, so I can ask them, luckily. Like, hey, I need this piece of JavaScript to do this. Can you help me? Like, oh yeah, do that. Like, boom. Like, then I start to understand, like, oh, this is how it all starts working. Okay. Then I can start to understand it, because the biggest thing is like, how do you ask the right question to Google so it actually returns a result that you can use? If you have no idea about this stuff, like, you just don't even know what to ask. Like, well, I want to, so, I find myself in this world quite a bit, like figuring out what's necessary. What is the more complex things that we're doing, but also what's the simple things that
A local
that
marketer
a
needs to do.
local
Yeah.
marketer needs for to display. Like everybody's looking at like high rows, or I mean they're great. These are great software. We use them. We use these softwares too. So it's not like I'm against them at all.
Mhm.
It's funny because like I have all this complex GA4 tracking, but I also use another
Right.
third party
Backup,
tracker as
backup.
well. It's all back. Listen, and they're all sending data into our systems to make sure, because we've had issues where something stopped sending and we
Yeah.
didn't even realize it. It broke, and all of a sudden our Google ads just stopped spending because it didn't look like we were making any money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
stopped spending, right? So we're like, what's going on, right? So now I'm like super worried about that. So we send data backup after backup after backup after backup. So if I ever have to switch it and start using a different conversion in Google Ads, it has all the data it needs. But anyways, like so we use. I have nothing against them, but most people don't need that.
Hmm.
A simple GA4 setup, and then learning how to use Looker Studio, how to use all these different things, like these couple of things. You don't need a lot. You can actually set up a nice report that actually shows return on investment, all these things. And then if you generate leads, you actually can show all this information.
Hmm.
Especially if you can connect, like if you're using like Stripe or using like that, you can pull all these things automatically. And there's a lot of these tools out here. So it's like, okay, I went through the gamut of learning all these tools at this point because we need them.
Hmm.
But it's like most people, most local marketers, you need this one, and this one. You'll be good. Like you probably didn't even know you can upload Facebook cost data into GA4 and actually see return on ad spend. Right? Most people don't know you can do that, and it's like that's
all
all.
I know is we pay Hyros $2,000 a month. If I didn't have to do that, I would love not to do that. So like that's
Yeah,
why I'm
I mean,
excited, because I know you're building out like a whole training on how to do it, right? How to, for a local
yeah,
marketer, how to set up tracking. You
of
don't have to spend
course,
any money. Um,
right.
and
And
just so you
especially
know where your
and
money's
then
going.
using tools like you guys use, you promote to in order to like send conversions over like Facebook's
Right.
conversion API and
Get
stuff like that. Like
pixels
these
and
tools, yeah, exactly right. So you get around because at the end of the day, like next year, so we're in 2023 right now. This is being, we're in what month are we in? September. Next year, Google has reported that they are getting rid of third-party cookies,
yep.
which means all the cookies that Facebook, all the cookies that all these TikTok or whatever ads you're
What
running.
about affiliate programs and all that stuff? Is that a
Well,
third party
if
cookie?
it depends. Some people use affiliate programs that use third party cookies. Like we literally, because I know this is happening. I I opted not to use a third party affiliate. We actually built it into our software that we had because
Yeah.
we have a piece of software now too for this company. I built an affiliate. I built the affiliate function in our software so we can keep everything first party.
Mm.
That way, our cookies still exist at least for now. I mean,
Hmm.
will cookies go away at some point? Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
Um, until then, though, you first party is really like, so when people say, "Oh, cookies," like cookies aren't dead. Third party cookies are dead. So now you have to start building your systems to function around first party data. Now that's kind of where I'm at right now with most businesses. And listen, there's other people that teach us stuff. I'll tell you what, these guys are very smart, but they make things very complicated
Yeah.
sometimes, and it's like, okay, we don't need all of this because
Right.
they're trying to they're trying to teach for almost every situation, mostly e-commerce, right? Because that's where GA4 is good for. But what happens
Hmm.
if you are a lead generation company,
Yep.
right? You do local lead gen. GA4 is not the best for local lead gen. This is the reason why you use things like HighRose, because you guys are lead gen, right? So it's
Hmm.
harder to track
Track.
sales when you're
Yeah.
doing lead gen. So that's kind of like where we're at with that. It comes to is like, okay, like how do we distill the information so that a local marketer, someone that's doing lead gen, can build using analytics and BigQuery and these things so that it's simple. They can build a report for their clients that they're not having to say, oh, here's a report every month. It's like, hey, if you want to go check it, here's the report. You can see how we're
Right.
doing.
It's right there, ready to go without having to. I got to build a spreadsheet at the end of every month. This is how many leads. This is how much money
Right.
we spent. This is, based on all the calls that came in, we think you landed it, like all this stuff. And I can imagine that,
Right.
it's hard. It's very difficult.
Yeah,
To do.
and it's difficult to do. It's difficult. It can be difficult to track, but if you set up the systems and you have them, it's worth it. Because like I set one up to show our month over month SEO our organic traffic gain.
Yeah.
Right. Like I know right now we're sitting at about 18. We had our biggest organic month last month. We're about 18% month over month right now. So it's like, okay, we're trending in a very good position. And then I also tell you like uh the biggest growth is not coming from Google traffic. It's
Right.
other platforms
And
we're
you would
growing
never
a lot
know
on.
that unless you were tracking.
Exactly, but we know this sort of tracking. So it's kind of cool to say, okay, so we're not Google is not our only source of growth. It's our main source of growth when it comes to organic, but it's not the only source of growth. So it's really interesting. But we know this because we have the data. And we can filter it and we understand it, right? So it's just, and that's one thing I learned from you guys. And we need to know every day what we're spending, what we're making, and we can keep doing that over and over
That's
again.
it. Money in, money out. Well, listen,
Money, exactly.
I'm excited because I know that especially in our group, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be interested in not having to spend money on tracking, and they can do it and be able to give reports to clients. And ever since you hired me, this is what it's this is
Right.
what the results are.
Listen,
And
that's
so
that's our job. We have to prove ourselves every month,
prove ourselves.
and
That's
that's
exactly right.
that's that as marketers, we're always trying to prove ourselves. And if you're not doing a good job, it's all about telling a story,
Yep.
right? Data is just a story. Like, and in understanding how the data works and functions together is understanding how to read the story, right? Once you can read the story, then you can display this in a way that your customers can understand. They will say, oh, like, oh wow, if I cut you, then I lose this,
Then I
right?
lose this.
If
Exactly.
I do this, then I'm out this. So it's like you're always building a case to make sure, like, hey, we keep going, seeing growth, we're growing, we're growing. And ethically, our job should always be to give more than we take
That's
as
exactly right.
marketers. And if we're
100%.
not, then we're not doing our job,
Then we're
or
not.
maybe
We
we
don't
don't have the
deserve it.
skill set.
Yep.
We don't deserve. Like, listen, we're not here just to take.
Right.
We're not the turn and burn shops of the world that just try to get you for a couple of months and move on. We're really trying to build long term, because prospecting's hard. I don't want to have to find a client every month.
All I know.
You know,
I know.
it's
I know.
like I don't go after clients anymore. If I get one, I might take one on if it's within my wheelhouse and I feel like I can do it without wrecking my whole life. Then I
Right.
might take them on. But now it's like, listen, I have so much going on. You have to fit into what I'm doing, otherwise, it's not
Right.
going to
You
work, because
can't do it.
you're going to ruin everything that
Yeah.
I'm doing. So it's like I don't want to have to chase clients every month. So we try to build those reports like where I just become part of the team.
That's exactly right. And prove your
Right.
worth each and every month. And at some point, they won't even care because they just feel it. They
No.
feel it, and you can still use those reports to always do it. I'm
Yeah.
excited to leave a cliffhanger here, for anybody
Okay.
that's watching this, because analytics is something that I'm nervous about. Always have been.
Hmm.
Ever since that whole update and stuff, and you've always been like, no, I got to work around. No, this is what we can do. No, this is this. And I know that you're building out a whole training on how people can do it. And so
Hmm.
I want to in the next couple of weeks, I want to dive deep into exactly what that is. And I'm also going
Okay.
to put a link down below. Well, first of all, like, subscribe, and comment so you know when the video comes out. But I'll leave a wait list link for anybody who's interested in how to set that up without having to spend really any money other than training, going through the videos and stuff like that on how to set all that up. And then we can
Yeah.
email them when the video comes out. So what do you
Yeah.
think?
Listen. Absolutely. I mean, at this point, just to get better at tracking, we probably spent. I mean, we have a third party tracking tool that costs us 500-600 bucks a month just to track. Then, so I mean, over almost the life of our business, so we're talking about a few $1,000s right there. Plus, I've also spent another $4,000 or $5,000 on learning from other people that do this stuff at a very
Sure.
high level. So it's like these things add up, and it's like I want to make sure that we can provide something for someone. It's not going to be what they do, because they do something that's not even, in my opinion, necessary for most businesses that are in this space. It's like, how can we distill it down to the necessary information and do it at a price that makes sense for
That makes
everybody. That's not going to blow.
100%.
Yeah, because like, listen, there's no reason to be greedy. There's plenty, like there's if you want to learn that stuff, you can learn that stuff. Pay the money, learn it. It's fine,
Right.
But
Hmm.
like if you're looking for something, my whole ethos on this, if you're looking for something that works for like local businesses, like something small like that,
All like that.
we're gonna build something that's favorable to you and makes sense.
Awesome. I love it, man. Well, you went from
Yeah,
electrician to COO to multi-million-dollar agency to now
yeah,
training. Well, in the near future, have a nice little course on how local marketers could utilize tracking to better their numbers. So I'm good with that. I appreciate your
yeah,
time, man.
yeah.
We'll
Absolutely,
jump.
sounds
We'll
good, man.
dive
Thanks for having
deeper.
me on.
We'll dive deeper. I'm heading out early in the morning, so I gotta get home and see my kids to sleep. But
Yes,
I'm gonna.
absolutely.
So I appreciate it.